What is up, my friends? Today we have a very special video. I'm going to be doing a bit of a collaboration with Jordan from Flutes Loot. It was pretty cool because I had already seen Flutes Loot, watched his videos, and then he popped up in my comments. I was like, bro, let's do a collaboration. So here we are. Welcome, Jordan.
Thanks, Sage. Good to be here.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you. So we are going to be doing a challenge build where we inputted a certain challenge and we're both going to build from that challenge and share it with you. So the challenge was to use the Flames of Phlegethos feat, that is the tiefling specific half feat, and that's it. Other than that, we had unlimited freedom to do whatever we like.
I got pretty into this one because I've always liked Flames of Phlegethos more than the Elemental Adept feat, which is kind of like the two like fire feats, let's say, for spellcasters. This just feels cooler, even though Elemental Adept negating resistance could be better. The reason I got excited for this is one of my favorite monsters is the Remoraz, the big like blue ice centipede that also burns really fiery. So it's like cold and fire. And I thought, okay, Flames of Phlegethos is like, yeah, you can deal a little bit more fire damage, but you also get like wreathed in flames. So anyone who hits you takes more fire damage. And I thought, I want to lean more into that and punish people who are hitting me. So here's what I did. I went for Tiefling, of course, because we have to for these builds because they're racial feats. I went with the Levistus Tiefling from Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes because that one gives you Armor of Agathis. Now, in that book, it says you can only cast Armor of Agathis once per day, but I'm pretty comfortable with the new way being that if you gain a spell through your race, that you can also use your spell slots to cast it. If you're not keen on that, there will be another way to gain it in this build, so don't worry about that. So we'll resist fire damage, we'll get dark vision, and we'll get +2 to charisma and +1 to constitution. If you're using the Tasha's rules for flexible stats, not as big a deal, but that's what we get. And then the class and subclass I went for is Clockwork Soul Sorcerer. And the reason I did that is because I want to be casting fire spells to wreath myself in flames. Sorcerers can do that. And then with Armor of Agathis, I want to beef up that temporary hit points I get from that so that people who hit me melee will take cold damage. So I'll be doing fire and cold damage to people that hit me. And then Bastion of Law from the Clockwork Soul Sorcerer will allow me to front load myself with sorcery points that'll turn into D8s to negate damage I take so I don't lose those temporary hit points. And I can keep dealing, like let's say I cast Armor of Agathis at 5th level, everyone who hits me will take 25 cold damage, melee hits to me, until I run out of those temporary hit points. So I want to negate damage as much as possible to do that.
Smart to use those D8s to keep your Armor of Agathis up a long time. That's cool.
Yeah, I really like that idea. And so between the fire and the Agathis, I'll be doing damage punishing those who hit me. Well, I might still take spells like shield and absorb elements to protect myself when I need to, because I don't always want to be hit, but other times I actually want people to hit me, and so I'm not going to be making my armor class super high. I want them to come hit me with little shots and take more damage than they dealt. So that's what I'm hoping for. I can also use the transmute spell Meta Magic from Tasha's, where you can turn an elemental spell into a different damage type. So if I wanted to, I could make Armor of Agathis a fire spell. So then people who hit me could take fire damage when they strike me instead of cold damage if I didn't want to go with the fire and ice and I just wanted to go full fire. I also, because I want people to hit me, I might be in melee a little bit, so I might do things like Green Flame Blade. So I might take like a spear or something like that and just be doing Green Flame Blade with it. So to deal fire damage and proc the Flames of Phlegethos wreathing of flames so that I've got fire all over me. I might also later use something like Stone Skin to resist damage because as a sorcerer, I get proficiency in Constitution saving throws, so it's more likely that I'm not going to lose concentration, especially if I'm resisting damage, and I can also negate damage from Bastion of Law, rolling those d8s with my sorcery points to negate the damage. And I'll grab Flames of Phlegethos right at level 4, since I'm a tiefling and I don't get a feat at level 1, so we won't be boosting our spellcasting until like level 8, or like our stats for it, I mean. But for now, Flames of Phlegethos at level 4, and going Clockwork Soul Sorcerer, letting people hit me, but negating damage. So I'm not going to be a tank or anything. I'm just going to be a fiery trap for people with a very Remoraz style. Other things I thought about doing involved, like maybe I wanted to be a classic tiefling and use Hellish Rebuke, but I don't actually like that spell. I think it's a waste of a spell slot and a reaction a lot of the time, but that could be useful if people prefer that. And I was saying that if you wanted Armor of Agathis from something other than the Levistus Tiefling, that you could use the switching out with the Clockwork Soul Sorcerer's spells given, I forget what it's called, but their spell list that's unique to the Clockwork Soul. Those can be traded out for abjuration spells from the Warlock list.
That's right. Yeah, that's a good call. I didn't think of that. Nice.
Yeah, so then Armor of Agathis is compatible with that list for a swap out, so you could gain it that way, covering my back with that if the Leviathan tiefling doesn't fly with the DM or whatever. And so yeah, that's the general gist of it. Anything else other than those things in the build is just kind of gravy. I'd want to pick a few fire spells and probably a few ice spells too. Keep that transmute spell magic, let people hit me, Armor of Agathis, Flames of Phlegethos. I think I could have fun with that. It'd be a fun build.
Yeah, I really like that. I think what really shines for me is your different options for damage resistance. Damage resistance with Armor of Agathis absolutely slaps, and you have multiple forms of getting it in this build. I think that's really cool. Awesome, man. I love it. All right, so I went with the Zerial Tiefling. As far as stats go, I ended up with the 17 Charisma, 16 Constitution, 14 Dex, 10 Wisdom, and then dumped the other 2. So the idea, what I've named this character is the Demonic Soul Sorcerer. We're gonna go Draconic Soul Sorcerer, but I'm gonna reflavor everything as Demonic Soul. But before being able to do that, I need to take a 1 level dip into Hexblade. I know, it happens all the time, but I figure if you are a melee sorcerer, that's a good excuse as any to take Hexblade, at least one. Hexblade 1, I'm picking up Green Flame Blade here. What makes Green Flame Blade so good with Flames of Phlegethos is that you can get your flames up every single turn that you're using. It's just a very cheap option to always have your flames active. When I'm thinking about Flames of Phlegethos, just as a broad, I'm thinking Green Flame Blade to have it always on, because not only do we want it always on, we want to be in melee as well. So I could do Firebolt, but then I'm far away from melee, so Green Flame Blade makes a little bit more sense. Next thing up is I think that its ability to make you re-roll ones on any big fire damage spell makes me really want to have Fireball on my build, because it's just going to be a more consistent Fireball. Combine that but with being a Demonic Soul or a fire, a red Draconic Soul Sorcerer, and now we have a Fireball that does extra damage and re-rolls ones. So we have a really, really consistent Fireball that just absolutely smacks people. So I want to be up close using Green Flame Blade. Yeah, at that point, once I'm up close and swinging, I start just taking spells that I feel good about. So for example, I like to have Wrathful Smite from Hexblade combined with Maximilian's Earthen Grasp, which I would reflavor as Zerial's Earthen Grasp. The reason I like that is that one's hitting wisdom saves and one's hitting the strength saves. So we hit a wide variety of saves and can isolate one person really hard. And so I'm kind of thinking about this as my fireball's good against big swarms of people. So I want to take some options that are good in like a skirmish type thing. I'd say if this build had something I wish it had more of, it would be a way to convince people to hit me, to do that D4 damage back. There's nothing really to convince them. That is the basic idea. I went through and I did every single spell and all of that jazz, but overall, I'm thinking that you can basically just, as you're going through, take every Fire Blast spell you can think of and then discard it for better Fire Blast spells later. As for spells, I actually did a minor in enchantment spells because I'm a devil, or at least, associated with the devil, so I like Charm Person and those things. But overall, that is the Demonic Soul Sorcerer in a small little package.
Yeah, fantastic. I also debated the Hexblade, but then I was kind of like I said in my build, I was like, I think I want people to hit me more because I was leaning really into that with like the Armor of Agathis combo. But yeah, Hexblade, you can't help but consider it when you're a charisma build. Like, do I just want some more armor and some other goodies with one level?
It's so packed full of good
Maybe
stuff.
I do.
No, that actually makes a lot of sense with your build to actually have your AC quite low. You're like, hit me, bro. Hit me all day. I don't care. That's exactly what I want you to do. Unless you're ranged, then stop. All right, Jordan, thank you so much for joining me. If you guys don't know, Jordan's channel is Flutes Loot. Over at Flutes Loot, correct me if I'm wrong, but you'll talk about anything so long as it makes the game a better game. That's kind of how I see your channel. Just whatever makes the game better is what you'll talk about.
Yeah, at Flutes Loot, we provide brain loot on everything D&D to enhance your gameplay and cultivate lifelong friendships through the game of D&D and whatever TTRPG you play. We're kind of a variety of whatever you need to make your game more fun. That's what we're about.
Flutes Loot channel is going to be in the description. Now, we did a challenge build on my channel here, and we're going to be doing another challenge build over at Flutes Loot. The seed we're going to be building it around is going to be the Bountiful Luck specific feat for halflings. So if you want to see us talk about that one, head on over to Flutes Loot and we'll see you there. See you on the next one. Bye.